Think of a person who decides to remain at home even on nights when invitations sit within easy reach. Away from the packed party, he finds a steady calm, and the hush of a room he knows well suits him better. A worthwhile book or a slow spell of reflection on life draws him more than a night spent inside a large group, and quiet on its own is enough for him. If someone of this sort comes to mind, or if you notice the same pattern in yourself, then these words were meant for you. The topic here is the psychology of men who choose home over the crowd, and part of what follows may change the way you understand them. An old assumption in society says that a man who keeps to his home must lack strength. The same assumption calls a person who passes on the weekend outing shy, and it treats a step back from crowds as a defect. Current science and psychology tell another story. The mind of a man who stays home runs on a different setting from the mind of a person who is always pulled toward company, and that contrast holds a strength of its own. Energy is where this begins, since its source here is not the one the wider world relies on. Psychology has a term for the trait: introversion. Many reduce introversion to plain shyness or a lack of social ease, though the truth lies somewhere else. Such men restore their mental and emotional reserves in solitude, and those reserves fall away when a busy crowd presses in around them. A sociable man might walk out of a late party lifted and eager for more. The introvert walks out of the very same party emptied and hungry for stillness. His home works as a place of recovery, and he goes back to it to think and to regain what the day has drawn out of him. Under that still exterior, far more is at work than most people would suppose. A man of this type can seem guarded and quiet, while within him a whole landscape of thought keeps moving. He weighs his ideas, takes in what lies around him, and imagines what has not yet come to be. Outside noise means little to him, because the workings of his own mind already keep him occupied. Such men frequently think with real depth and untangle problems that defeat others. They see beneath the face of a matter and hunt for its root. The question of why a thing acts as it does holds their interest most. One unexpected part of this account has to do with their relationships, which are inclined to run deep and to endure. A common guess says that a person who seldom ventures out must find talking or bonding hard, yet the truth runs the other way. A man who stays home would rather have 2 or 3 honest, close ties than 100 faint acquaintances. He does not welcome newcomers quickly, but the moment he chooses to trust a person, he commits without holding back. No act and no disguise mark his friendships, and his love keeps a firm depth. That steadiness makes him more reliable than a man who stands forever among crowds while knowing no single person well. It is here that the quiet life meets its harshest misjudgment, in the tag of antisocial or odd. A wide space separates the antisocial person from the introvert. An antisocial person may mean harm toward others, or may cast aside the shared rules that keep a community together. The man who stays home has only worked out which conditions grant him peace, and he picks that peace ahead of the expectations others set for him. A decision of that kind shows sound judgment and maturity. A study from the University of Texas backs this up. Researchers found that people who favor their own company usually carry clearer aims and hold a tighter focus on their work. They also remain more even in their emotions than the average person. A person who pulls back from the crowd to sit with himself ends up knowing himself thoroughly. He measures his own path through life with greater precision, and that inner knowledge grants him a clearness in weighty choices that a person adrift in constant noise seldom finds. A further trait worth mention is a strong resistance to stress. When difficulty breaks across the wider world, or when a sudden setback appears in their private or working life, these men answer it in a distinctive way. They handle it with quiet and with a slow, deliberate patience, and the panic and grumbling they leave to others. Many long hours passed alone with their own thoughts have laid down a solid mental toughness, the sort that will not give way when the world beyond them falls into disorder. Men of this kind hold their calm inside, even through the roughest passages of their lives. Their self-knowledge is what marks them off above all else. Picture a person who is forever out, forever in a crowd, forever ringed by sound. He rarely receives a fair chance to meet himself or to catch his own thoughts. He pours so much of himself into pleasing others and keeping pace with the fashion of the moment that he turns into a stranger inside his own head. The man who stays home, comfortable in silence, encounters himself daily. He knows what pleases him and what he will not tolerate, what raises his spirits and what drags at them. That honest, unadorned self-knowledge lays the foundation on which a strong and self-reliant life is raised. An important distinction has its place here. Remaining home in order to grow and fleeing from life through fear are two separate things. When a man stays home because peace lives within him, and because he spends the time thinking clearly and building his abilities, then his solitude counts as true strength. When a man locks himself away only because the world outside scares him, because anxiety or a low mood has left him damaged or severed from others, then support is what he needs, and often the help of a professional. The border between wholesome solitude and damaging isolation is thin, and reading it right draws a person closer to understanding both himself and those he holds dear. There is one more quality in these men that few people ever register: a keen gift for observation. Because they watch and listen a great deal more than they talk, they pick up the faint details that slip past others amid the clamor of everyday conversation. Deceiving such a man is no simple task. With little trouble, he can sense whether the person facing him is genuinely at ease or merely fixed behind a rehearsed smile. This careful grasp of human nature leaves him perceptive, and it makes him honest company worth keeping. At the last, society must take in a simple truth. No two people are built alike. For one, happiness is standing at the heart of a lively party surrounded by hundreds of beaming faces. For another, it is a warm cup of coffee in a still, dim room and an unhurried gaze through the window at the world beyond. One manner of living is no truer than the other. A man who favors his home is only living on terms he has chosen, and the nerve to do that in a noisy world is worthy of respect.